Welcome to another installment of IPC TOUCHPOINTS. Today's topic is infection prevention in post-acute facilities and the importance of building productive partnerships with housekeeping teams. I'm your host, Abhi Zadav, Director of Healthcare Insights at Georgia Pacific. We are fortunate to be joined here by Missy Travis. Missy is a seasoned infection preventionist and founder of IPC Consulting. The first question I have for you is relating to post-acute communities, which includes skilled nursing homes, inpatient rehab, independent and assisted living communities. And we know that more and more infection prevention teams are now incorporating housekeeping teams and professionals, and that's a great development. Can you talk to us a little bit about how this growing partnership with EVS leads to a better partnership?
Well, I think we all know that cleaning and disinfection is one of the primary measures in infection prevention. So to me, it only makes sense that you would include the group who is doing the majority of the cleaning and disinfection in the facility. So by including them in the infection prevention program, you create a team, a multidisciplinary team, then to address the issues related to infection prevention and in selecting products. I recently worked in a facility where I went around with the housekeeping or EVS manager, and we would check the rooms together just to model that team approach for the staff so that they could see that we're working together. We each have our set of skills, and when we bring them together as a team, we're going to get better results.
So it seems like there is a greater opportunity for that partnership with housekeeping professionals. Is that typically the case?
Well, I think ideally that is the perfect scenario whenever you have that collaboration and that multidisciplinary committee. In some facilities, unfortunately, EVS or housekeeping is still seen as a support service, and they're not necessarily seen as part of the clinical team. And I really think that that's a mistake because they are there supporting the clinical team and keeping the environment clean, which makes it possible for the clinical team then to be able to do their job. Creating a multidisciplinary team creates that environment and really establishes a bridge between the different disciplines, because we all have different experience and different skills, and we bring those together as a team, we're really going to have a better approach combating infections and creating this infection prevention program. You know, it's important to remember that infection prevention cannot be accomplished by one person or one department. It takes all of us working together. I did a poster one time for infection prevention, and it was related to reducing C. diff infections in a facility. And one of the primary things that we did for that project was increase our cleaning and disinfection, and we looked at different products. And housekeeping or EVS was pivotal in that project, and so I included them on that poster because I wanted to recognize them. I couldn't have done it without them. They were such an important part of the team.
That multidisciplinary approach is so critical, and that collaboration and gathering input from your housekeeping teams, what does that lead to? Does that lead to better decision making, better outcomes for the post-acute facility?
Yes, I definitely think that it leads to better outcomes for the facility. As I said before, when you bring together a team, you know, two minds are always better than one. Everyone has different perspectives. There's something that they're looking at, there's something that nursing is looking at, and there's something that I'm looking at from the infection prevention perspective. And so I think whenever you come together and bring all of those different opinions and experiences, then it's going to make it easier for you to select a product that's going to be good for everyone. I've worked in facilities before where, you know, leadership or infection prevention has mandated a product, and it's very hard to get ownership from the end users for that product when they didn't have any say in the product selection. And so I think that's very important to include them. I one time worked in an outbreak of Candida auris, and we continued to see an increase in cases. And whenever we went and really started looking closely to see what was going on, why were we still seeing cases, the thing that we saw that was still going on is they were using the wrong disinfectant for Candida auris. There had never been that communication between infection prevention and housekeeping about changing that product. And so you can see where if you don't have that collaboration and that communication, you can't stop outbreaks, you can't do all of the things that you need to do in infection prevention that impact those residents.
That communication between different stakeholders in a facility is so important. Can you tell our viewers about some guidelines and resources that might help them in their partnering efforts?
Yeah, so there's several go-tos for infection prevention. I like to start with the regulations first, the things that you have to do, your regulations and your state law, which are set forth by CMS, OSHA, the FDA, the EPA. Then I want to look at the best practices, the clinical studies, the consensus documents. So this is where you have your CDC recommendations, APIC, SHE. Also, if you are accredited, I want to look at the Joint Commission, if that's applicable. And then there's some other practice groups and recommendations. So you have AHE for housekeeping or environmental services. You have the AORN for the OR, ASHE for the facilities, and then also, looking at Lippincott for nursing. So a ton of resources out there to help people make the right decision.
You shared some really good resources, and in closing, I want to ask you, what do these productive partnerships lead to?
Well, I think success looks like an all-encompassing infection prevention program. It takes everyone for the program to be successful because it's everyone's job to do infection prevention. Me as the infection preventionist, I can't do it all by myself. I have to rely on those other people who are actually coming in contact with the environment and the residents. And so I think as the infection preventionist, as you're sharing your experience and educating those staff members, then you build those relationships, which then becomes collaborations and partnerships. And that's how you're going to have successful future projects for infection prevention, is through those relationships and through those collaborations that you build.
I want to thank you, Missy, for sharing those valuable insights and meeting us here at Georgia Pacific. As we like to say, healthcare experts meet hygiene experts, and we value experts like you who want to keep the healthcare community involved.
Yes, thank you so much for including me in this interview.
And I hope you folks will join us for additional installments of IPC Touchpoints. Thank you.